Welcome to the Actually You Can podcast. I'm Miff Galloway, a performance coach passionate about supporting ambitious and high-performing women just like you who know they have untapped potential just waiting to be unleashed. If you're looking to massively up-level your performance in all areas of life, you've come to the right place. My goal on this podcast is to take you beneath the surface so you can connect with yourself on a deeper level while providing you with valuable insights and the tools necessary to navigate life's challenges and go after your goals with strength, clarity, and wisdom. If you're ready to uncover the truth which lies underneath so you can recognize your powerful feminine leadership style, pursue your goals unapologetically, and thrive in every aspect of your life, hit the follow button and get ready to explore the incredible possibilities that lie within you. Together, we'll uncover your next steps in achieving peak performance, because actually, you can. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Actually You Can. On today's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nicole Lewis. Nikki is a Bay Area native who is a practicing attorney in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's also a former law professor. In May 2023, shortly after Nikki's 48th birthday, she decided to start bodybuilding. Although Nikki is proud of the transformation of her body, it is the discipline and dedication that is required to be a bodybuilder that she is loving most about participating in this sport. The level of focus and determination that the sport of bodybuilding requires has improved all aspects of Nikki's life, including how she approaches the practice of law. On today's episode, we're going to talk to Nikki about how her experience in bodybuilding and her work as an attorney has impacted how she manages life setbacks and now found her footing and hit her stride in all areas of life. Welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be communicating with you.
And as I briefly mentioned to you before, I'm so excited about our chat because everything that I've read and researched about you, you're an absolute powerhouse. And the first question I'd love to ask you is, what made you decide to want to do bodybuilding? It is a brutal sport, and it takes a very particular person to want to choose willingly to participate in it. So I'd love to hear more. Why bodybuilding?
Well, that's a good question because I never desired to bodybuild, never desired to go into bodybuilding or anything like that. Have I participated in fitness? Sure. Did I get my certification and become a fitness coach? Yes, I did. But fitness for me was about me, not so much about how I looked, but more how I felt. And so as I started learning more about fitness, I decided I wanted to step my fitness game up. And so when I stepped my fitness game up, that meant getting a fitness coach. And so I'm not even kidding you, I told my fitness coach, I have no desire to bodybuild because my fitness coach is a professional bodybuilder. I said, I have no desire to bodybuild. I just want to transform my body for me. As I continued with my training, my body started changing in even more amazing ways because I was already happy with the way that I looked. So it wasn't as if I looked bad. No, I looked good. But I started seeing changes in my body that made me think I did not know my body could do this. Yeah. And so it was once I was seeing that transformation that I had never, ever seen before, I said, you know what? I think I might want to try to compete. And I started playing with the thought. And as I played with the thought, I found myself getting excited. And so I said, okay, this is exciting me. I don't know why. So then why not do it? And so then after I turned 48, I said, you know what? I'm going to compete. And I made the decision. I'm going to compete. And it literally was May 26th, I think I said, I want to compete. And June 1st is when I started training for my first bodybuilding competition. And so I completed my first competition. I went pro after my first competition. It was an amazing experience. And I say the rest is history because I've continued to not only grow in the sport, but grow to love the sport. but it's not the bodybuilding competition that I love. I love the process. That's the part I love, the process.
And that is such a refreshing approach because I know in Australia, bodybuilding and that sort of aesthetic competitions is very popular. And a big part of the participants are people in their early 20s. And I joke with my friend the other day, I mean, I'm a personal trainer, that I feel like for some women in their early 20s, doing a bodybuilding competition, getting ridiculously lean, completely stuffing up your metabolism is just a rite of passage for any female who is interested in fitness. And so a lot of women in that age group are doing it for potentially because of the aesthetics or the accolades they get from looking really good. And it's such a vulnerable age group to get into the sport. It's so refreshing to hear that you were literally just interested in seeing what your body could do and passionate by the process of transformation.
Yes, yes. There was something about the mind muscle connection that, honestly, the mind muscle connection through training has transformed just my life, period. Because I'm now using my mind to bring forth everything that I've wanted and desired. And I feel like I learned that through training from bodybuilding. And so that's why it's transformed my life and it's made me a better business person. Because again, there are so many things that I'm doing now that I was apprehensive about doing. I was afraid to do it. There was this fear. And now I'm not afraid because I'm like, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'm like, no, you have to try if you want to succeed. You got to try and see what happens. So just like I wanted to see what my body could do, I'm doing that in all aspects of my life. Like, okay, well, what can I do now? And seeing how far I get. And as you take steps, you gain clarity. So even if I take a step and it doesn't go the way that I want to, I'm clear on what I need to do next, even if I have to pivot. And so I'm confident in knowing that whatever comes my way, I will be able to figure out which direction I'm supposed to go in. And I feel like I learned that through bodybuilding.
And you've articulated that so well. And my philosophy for training from a lot of the studies I've done is the mind is primary. And if you're able to control the mind a lot of the time through the physical body, it's a bit more of an indirect way to influence the mind. It can have a profound impact, not only in the gym, but in life outside of the gym. So I really love how you've articulated that.
Absolutely.
And so what impact has training had in terms of other areas of your life? So, it's a few years ago, you've realized just how incredible the human body is. What other areas of life has that inspired?
Well, definitely business. I'm a practicing attorney, and for a long time I've been a solo practitioner, so just me. I'm the one who's doing everything. I'm the one who is I hate to use the word control, but because it's just me, I am the one controlling everything. And I now know that as much as I enjoy practicing law, what I love, and I didn't know I was going to love it, but I love running the business. And so I've now become this person who wants to build. I said I am building my practice, and I'm scaling my practice, and I'm hiring. And again, I'm bringing in all these things that I was afraid of, because it's like, okay, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work out? Well, what if you do it and it does? And so rather than thinking about what's not going to happen or what I don't have or how this could go wrong, I'm thinking about all these things that can go right, because every time I think of what goes right, it feels good. Even as I talk about it, it feels so good, because the sky is the limit, because I've now just released everything, all the apprehensions, all that stuff. I let all that stuff go and said, Nicole, you can do this. And I'm doing it. And so as I continue to move forward, whatever else that makes me feel good, and again, I'm not hurting anybody. If anything, I'm employing people. I'm providing a service for people. I'm encouraging people. So I'm doing all these amazing things that help other people, but it also helps me and it makes me happy. And so again, mutually beneficial.
And I love how you phrase by doing what makes you happy, it's having a positive impact on the community. I very much believe that too. Like one of our purposes in life is to find out what lights us up and share that with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And even when I speak about it, people are just like, oh my goodness, you're so excited. And they can't help but get excited,
Yeah.
so they want to know what it is that I know or what I've been doing. And I have no problem sharing it because I feel like there's so many people walking around who are unhappy. Their lives aren't fulfilled. And the thing is, you don't have to live that way. You don't have to live that way. People don't understand that. It's going to sound bad, but it's the truth. They're making a choice to live that way because you can choose a different path. So find out what makes you happy, and that's what you need to pursue. Now, I think that one of the problems is that people don't want to be uncomfortable. So
Yes.
people will look at me and say, oh my goodness, you're great. Look at you. You look great and all that. They don't know about all the things that I went through to get to this point. The tears, the frustration, sometimes flat out anger. I didn't hurt anybody, but you get angry sometimes. So people don't hear about the journey, that part of the journey. They only see the end product. And so for me, I'm like, look, we can find some joy in the journey even when we're uncomfortable. You can still be happy with where you are, knowing that you're about to embark on what it is that you desire. And so I'm trying to help people find that joy in the journey, because when you find the joy in the journey, you're going to make it to where you want to go. And then once you get there, you have new goals and you're like, oh, I got here. Now let's see what I can do next. And so that's what I want to help people do.
Ah, I love that. I can just see you lighting up to sharing that as well. And I think a couple of things come to mind when you've shared that. There's people who will see you and be like, "Of course, it's just easy for you. You're motivated and you're driven. Of course, it's easy for you." And we can talk about that in a second. And the second part is finding enjoyment in the journey, because I think too often people will be like, "My happiness lies on the other side of achieving this particular goal." And what happens is you get there and you're like, "Where's all the fireworks and the celebration, the accolades?" Or it's very temporary. It's you need to be able to enjoy the journey to live an overall fulfilling life.
That is so true. And you hit the nail on the head. And I've experienced that in the past, thinking that if I get to this certain point or if I achieve this certain goal, I'm going to be so happy. And you achieve the goal and you're like, is this it? I expected to be more excited. I expected it to feel better. It's like, okay, this is great, but I expected more. And so I know what that feels like. Again, I can relate to what people have gone through, and I can say, look, I've been there, and these are the changes that I've made. And now I'm so much happier than I've ever been. And I know that my life is going to continue to just be so much more enjoyable. It just is.
And so have you always been motivated, disciplined? Like, is this a trait that's followed you throughout your journey to date, or was there a particular moment where you started fostering these qualities?
I definitely did not always have discipline. Well, I will say this. Let me rephrase. It was in me, but I wasn't exercising it. I wasn't using it.
Yeah.
So did I have discipline? I mean, at the end of the day, any person who decides to go to college, go to law school, sit for a 3-day bar exam and take it and pass it, there's a certain level of discipline you have.
Yep.
Now, in other areas of life, you may not exercise discipline. And then you have these areas where you do exercise discipline. For me, I think that once I became an attorney, as a matter of fact, I know once I became an attorney, it wasn't what I expected it to be. I had these visions or this idea of what I thought being an attorney would be like. And I believe that based on, and some of it has to do with TV, some of it has to do with what you're told when you're in school. You have these ideas of what it's going to be like and what it's going to feel like. And so once I finally became an attorney, I said, ew, I don't like this. And I thought something was wrong with me. So instead of, and let me back up. When I became an attorney, I was in my mid-20s. So I was young. Not very much life experience, especially I lived a sheltered life. So here I am, I'm an attorney. It's not what I expected. and I'm not feeling good about what I'm doing, but I'm not knowing why I'm not feeling good. So now, how do I deal with these emotions? And I learned to deal with them all the wrong way. It was just like, you know, my coping mechanisms. I'll just call that unhealthy habits, whatever euphemism you want to use for however you cope. And so it wasn't until I got older that I learned that I don't care if this works for someone else. I don't like it. And I have to choose what's right for me. Once I got to that point where I said, let me figure out what it is that I want, what makes me happy, what I desire, what feeds my spirit, then that's when I started going in that direction. And that's where the discipline started to trickle in, because as I started asking more for what I wanted instead of focusing on what I didn't like, because I used to talk a lot about what I didn't like. Well, why? You don't like it. Why are we spending time talking about that? How about let's talk about what we do like? How about let's talk about what we do want? And so once I started communicating what I wanted, that's when I started moving towards it. And every time I got to one point, I had a desire to do more and get to another point. And that's how you get to the discipline of bodybuilding. Yeah. Versus, because I would go to the gym. I went to the gym. I worked out. I had a decent nutrition plan on my own, but I still wanted more. After I achieved certain things, I wanted more. So, yeah.
I love the pursuit of more. A lot of people can see that as greed, but I really see it as just an exploration of what's possible for you. I'm not sure about, well, I'm getting the vibe from you that you're very similar to myself in the sense that I'm just here to find out what I'm capable of.
There you go. Absolutely. And the thing is, we're capable of a lot. And a lot of individuals don't achieve certain things, not because they can't do it. It's because they don't believe that they can do it and they don't try to do it. You know, and for whatever reason, there are a lot of different reasons why, you know, people do things or don't do things. I just know that for me, once I figured out what it was that I want, and let me be clear, sometimes the way that you figure out what you want is when you find out what you don't want. Yeah. If you find out what you don't want, that puts you in a direction of what you do want. And that's what I told people. If you do something and you find out you don't like it, fine. You know not to do that anymore. So you just learned something, you know, so you're that much closer to what you do want. So I just feel like there's a lesson in everything that we do, and you just need to be able to pay attention to whatever that lesson is and use it and apply it to make you a better person and your life better.
Yeah. And even hearing a story about, you know, you became a practicing attorney and you realized you didn't really like it. And you're in your 20s. And I think this is a very common story. I remember hearing somewhere that it's like a lot of people die at the age of 25 and then get buried at the age of 80. And the reason behind that quote is because you go to school, go to college, get a degree, enter the workforce, and then people just don't really question life from there. You might just keep going with the career that you're in because you have a degree and that's what society says is the good thing for you to do. So it's really to hear that you had that realization in your mid-20s, because I think that's such a beautiful time to go on that journey of exploration. I put so much pressure on ourselves during that time frame to figure out what it is that we want to do in our lives. And I just wish more people would go, hey, what if I committed my 20s to really exploring who I am, what I want to do, what I like, what I don't like? Wow.
Yeah. And that's the truth. More people would be happier. They really would, because so many of us, and again, I've done this, so I'm not, you know, speaking about anything that I haven't done myself. You do what you're supposed to do. You graduate from high school, you go to college, oh, you get this great job, you go to law school, you become an attorney, and oh, it's so great. And it's like, no, this is not great. This is not how it was supposed to feel. Yeah. And so I don't think that there are very many attorneys like me who communicate this. I think people suffer in silence. And that I know, again, I was one of those. I would not talk about the fact that I hated what I was doing. I felt like, well, I spent all this money, I went to school, you gotta suck it up and just do it, you know? And I decided I didn't want to live that way. I wanted to actually enjoy my life. And so once I decided to enjoy my life, I'm like, okay, well, I did go to law school. There are things that can be done. I can use my education, but what is it that not only what is it that I'm good at, but what do I like? Because I'm good at a lot of stuff, and some stuff I just don't like it, but I'm good at it. So I want to do something that I'm good at, but it has to be something that I enjoy doing, you know? And so that's where the business aspect of running a law firm comes from, because it's like, can I practice law? Absolutely. Am I a good attorney? Absolutely. But there are certain things that I'd rather just not do, just because I feel as though it's not me operating in my strength. It's not what I'm passionate about. But what I found is that everyone's not like me. So when I was thinking, oh gosh, I hate this, there are some attorneys who love what they're doing. Well, you know what? Come work for me. The stuff you love doing, I don't like doing. Match.
So good. And you hear that go the other way as well. Like, I think I can speak to the fitness industry. A lot of personal trainers, they think the next step for them is opening their own gym. And I say to them, do you like personal training or do you like being a business owner? Because as soon as you open a gym, you need to become a business owner. And if you have no interest in that, then find someone who loves it, get a good deal working in someone else's gym because you'll be a lot happier.
And that is the truth. There's a difference between running the business and actually doing the work that your business requires. And that was one of the problems as a solo that I faced, because when you're a solo, you have to run your business, but you also have to practice law. But both of them require a whole lot of time if you're going to do it the way you're supposed to. And so I found myself spending a lot of time trying to run the business and also trying to work the cases. And then I'd wonder, why am I tired? Because you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
So again, it's about figuring out the best ways to do things, figuring out what works for my life. And now that I have incorporated bodybuilding into my schedule, it's imperative that I expand my team, because I love bodybuilding. Bodybuilding makes me happy, and when I'm a happy person, I can show up as the best version of myself for the other people who I'm helping. So I have to take care of me.
Yeah. And so how do you prioritize bodybuilding training and nutrition? Because to be at the top of your game, which you are, it requires an incredible amount of discipline and following a plan, not just to 80%, but to 100%. How do you make sure that you stick to your plans despite everything else that you've got going on?
Well, sticking to the schedule, you definitely have to have a schedule and you have to have a plan. Fortunately, I really enjoy waking up early in the morning. And so I train early in the morning. I prefer to wake up when everyone else is still asleep because it's so peaceful. So I like to have my me time, wake up, grateful that I woke up and that everything is functioning. I have my quiet time, I train, and I've done all of that before some people have woken up and before other people start going to work. And so by the time I start working, I've already energized myself, I've already poured into myself. So now I have something to give to everybody else. And so in terms of throughout the day, in terms of nutrition, I bring my lunch with me everywhere. I I have to be honest. I love myself. I love spending time with myself, and I could literally be on the freeway, and if it's time for me to eat and there's not anywhere that I have to go, I will pull over into a parking lot and just eat my lunch in the car, listening to a book or a podcast or something like that, and it's a really, really enjoyable time. If I'm in my office like I am now, I have my lunch with me. It's like, oh, time to eat. And I love eating too, because my body is usually telling me like, you're hungry and it's time to eat. Grab my lunch and I eat. So I just make sure I stay on schedule, and it's so rewarding because, again, I see how my body responds, and my body is like, yes, you're doing what you're supposed to do. I feel good, I look good. So that's the incentive to continue to stick with my schedule.
And I'm sure there's people who are going to be like, that is inspirational, like the level of commitment. Love that. There's some people who are going to be like, That is so weird. Like, why would you do that? What would you say to the people who are full of judgment?
I don't have anything to say to the people who would be full of judgment because I'm super happy. Now, if you're happy doing what you do, great. But I would say this: if someone is judging what I'm doing, especially if they're criticizing it, then I'm betting that person's not happy with themselves.
100%.
Because frankly, when I think about myself, I don't spend time looking at what other people are doing because I don't have time. I don't have time to figure out what other people are doing. I only have time to focus on me and what makes me happy. And because I'm so focused on my life, making me happy and being of service to other people, I don't have time to be critical of other people. I don't. And because I know that life is tough, people go through things. If there is one thing that I'm not, it's judgmental. And that's because I know things that I've gone through, and I give people grace because I would want people to give me grace. And so I don't have anything to say about anybody who's judging me because my life is amazing. So you can look at it with a critical eye if you want to, but eat your hearts out because I'm fabulous. My life is great, and I'm enjoying my life. So yeah, I don't have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point because I think as humans, our nature is to judge. Like you see someone, you're going to form an opinion about them. But I think it's that next step of projecting your own insecurities, your own happiness on someone else's choices. It's like to your point that you said earlier is you're not causing anyone harm. You're living your best life and it's actually benefiting others. It's interesting if people who have that perception of judgment going, hey, what would happen if you lived your best life? And on the subject, and I've had friends who bodybuild, and I love the idea of applying yourself to something and being so disciplined and seeing exactly what your body was capable of. I'm always intrigued at that element of bodybuilding. Where I struggle with it is I love competing in really objective sports. You've either lifted the heaviest weight, you had the fastest time, and stuff like that. I feel like the sport of bodybuilding or any other sort of, I guess, artistic sport as well would crack me because you could have the best package on the day, but if it's not what the judges are looking for, then it's not up to you whether you win or not. How do you personally deal with that? Or do you not think about it because it's all about your journey?
Well, that's the thing because bodybuilding, especially I'm a natural bodybuilder.
Yeah.
The natural bodybuilding competitions that I've participated in, they can seem to be subjective. But again, for me, my joy is in the journey and the competition is just the fun part. And I've said that before, and I really do mean that. It's like I'm so happy with how I look when I hit the stage and how I feel when I hit the stage. If I didn't win, so what? I only didn't win the competition, but I know in terms of what I set out to accomplish, I did that. And that's where the win is for me. So no, I've already won before I've competed. It's just the competition is when I get to put on the sparkly suit, some clear heels, get all made up like I'm a star and march out on the stage, you know, and I'm not wearing a suit. So it's like something completely different from what I normally do. I'm not in some courtroom in a suit and some heels. Well, I'm in heels, but they're clear heels when I'm on the stage. So
whether the court.
yeah, yeah. So no, the competition is just the fun part. That's all it is. It's the fun part. I really, really, really do enjoy the journey. Even the days I don't always feel like working out. So I don't want anybody to think that, oh, every single day I wake up like, yes, it's time to work out. No, some days it's like, oh man. But it's not about how you feel. I know what I need to do. And so sometimes the hardest part is just getting there. And I always say, once I get there, I'm fine. Let me just get there. And you have those days.
I love how you mentioned that you're not always motivated to get up and work out because I think some people just think that there are a rare breed of human out there who's always just energized and motivated for life. And I completely agree with yourself. I feel like if someone coming across as motivated and energized by life, there's probably some deeply suppressed emotions that they aren't actually sharing. They're not allowing them to feel the broad spectrum of emotion. And there's probably some stuff they need to look into. But I think we're humans, we're not robots. We're designed to experience a range of emotions, and I love how you mentioned you just do what you know you need to do. It's almost the challenge is getting out of your own way and allow yourself to just do the things that you know you need to do.
Exactly. You're not always going to feel like doing certain things. You don't always feel like going to work, but sometimes you have to go to work, So it's not about what you feel like doing. You do what you have to do or you do what you need to do. So, yeah, we're not always going to feel like doing things. Sometimes we just don't want to do anything, but you might not have that option. So you
Yeah.
have to work your way through it.
And your perception of things does have a huge difference as well, because a lot of people I speak to about bodybuilding, it's like, oh, I've sacrificed time with family and friends. I've had to be really strict with my foods. I haven't been able to eat out like I want and all that sort of stuff. But hearing you talk about it, it sounds like just the whole process of bodybuilding is expansive for you. And so it just proves how empowering your perspective of any sort of situation is in terms of your experience of the journey.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned something that's really important because it is more difficult. It's more of a challenge if you don't have people supporting you. And so I when I first started bodybuilding, I didn't even tell anyone that I planned on competing because I was wondering what the perception would be. Would there be judgment? Would people be critical? Would people say, "What do you mean bodybuilding? You're an attorney, practice law. Why are you trying to compete? Why are you on stage and you're barely wearing any clothes?" So I didn't know what type of judgment I was going to be met with. And once I actually shared that I was bodybuilding, I received so much more support than I ever could have imagined. And it's changed my life in such amazing ways that I'm thinking, what was it that I was so afraid of? And it was just the fact that I hadn't done anything like that before, and that being bodybuilding. And that wasn't what was expected of me. I
Yeah.
was, again, I'm an attorney. You're supposed to practice law. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. No one expected the bodybuilding. And so I was the one who had the problem thinking I would be judged. No one else had a problem. They were happy once they found out. And so there sometimes we have our own issues that we need to deal with, and our own issues are keeping us from doing things, and we're trying to act as if, oh well, if I do this other people are going to say something. No, they're not. They're not. If you're living your truth, more people will be accepting than you think. And so
Mhm.
get out of your own way and just do it, and then receive that positive reception, and you'll see that you are enough, and the decisions that you make, as long as you're happy and it makes you a better person and you're enjoying your life, other people will embrace that and they'll embrace you.
Yeah. One thing that's coming to mind when you say that is it's like when you move, the universe moves too. You just have to make the commitment to as well. And one thing I hear often is the biggest killer of dreams or the reason why people don't achieve their goals is because of 2 emotions, fear and doubt. And sounds like as soon as you overcame both of them, or at least accepted that they would be present on this journey, you're able to move forward a lot more confidently. And it sounds like even the whole process of bodybuilding with the training and just showing you that you didn't have to be scared of this and you didn't have to doubt yourself, that it really unlocked what was possible for you as well.
Yeah, I've learned so much from this sport. I mean, I think that, again, the fear that we have, all these different fears. We fear failure, which I still wonder what exactly is failure, because if
Yes.
something doesn't work out, then you weren't supposed to be doing it either at all, or the timing is wrong. So that's not a bad thing to figure those things out.
Yeah.
And so through bodybuilding, again, making that connection with the mind, the body, how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling this way, what I can do to change the negative emotions. It's changed my life all the way
Yeah.
around in such amazing ways.
Yeah. And it sounds like by choosing to do something that was unexpected of you, but something that was really interesting to you and that aligned with your value really enabled you to unlock a new level with yourself. I'm interested to hear if someone what's a really actionable step someone can do in the next 24 to 48 hours to find the courage to do something that's potentially expected of them.
Well, it starts with your mind. It really does. So, in terms of actionable steps to do something in the next, I'd say 48 hours, I'd say start with something as basic as gratitude. What are you grateful for? When you wake up in the morning, find something that you're grateful for. You know, I don't know, you might wake up and you just got a good night's rest and it's like, wow, I really feel good right now. You know, acknowledge something positive as soon as you wake up versus waking up with a bad attitude. You know, like, oh, I gotta go to work today. You know, oh gosh, traffic's gonna be terrible. You're already speaking those negative things. So I'd say just wake up, and the first thing that you do is just be grateful. Think of something positive as soon as you wake up in the morning. And that's something that's very basic and very simple. And if you just start to practice it over time and start finding more and more things to be grateful for, because we are very quick as humans to just point out what's wrong or what's negative and all that stuff. How about let's point out what's positive? And it doesn't take much effort to do that. It can be the smallest little thing.
Morning gratitude is such a powerful practice. I think it's Oprah who says that for her morning practice, as soon as she gets up, she goes, "Thank God I'm alive." And if a morning gratitude practice is good enough for Oprah, it's good enough for the rest of us. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your journey today. I know I learned a lot from it. I'm really inspired by your commitment to finding out what lights you up and making the commitment to pursue that and share it with the world.
All right, thank you. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much for having me and just allowing me to share parts of me, part of my story, all that, because I do feel like more people need to hear these types of things because there's so much more to life, so much more good to life than people know, and all they have to do is tap into it. A lot of people don't know how, and so I want to help them learn how to do that.
Amazing. And if someone's looking to keep touch and find out all the incredible things that I have no doubt that you'll continue to do, where can they find you?
Well, they can always reach out to me on Instagram at Coach Nikki Lew, and that's CoachNikkilEW. And they can also email me. I am going to be starting my wellness program, so just mindfulness, accountability, and life purpose coaching, just to help people, wherever they are. You don't have to. You can be a beginner, and it can be tailored to whatever your specific needs are to help you in your particular journey. And I can be emailed at info@nlewisinc.com.
Amazing. And I'll put those details in the show notes as well. Thank you again, Nikki. Really appreciate your time today.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope this was helpful. If you thought of someone while listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could share this episode with them. While you're doing that, please also take a moment to leave a review on the podcast if you haven't yet already. It takes less than a minute and it means so much to me and helps this podcast to reach more people just like you. Thank you so much for that, and I'll see you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and achieve every dream you have, because actually, you can.